Yes, greetings and thank you for once again keeping it on CK Sports and the pitch side. Our YouTube channels have dedicated a lot of time with bringing you with all the latest that you need to know in the world of sports and African football. Now, on this particular edition, we are going to be discussing a lot that is trending on the African continent, the East African region in particular, because just around the corner, we shall be having the African Nations Championships starting in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. Of course, a few days ago, I was in Nairobi, Kenya, and yes, I managed to discover lots of things that I've already shared on our CK Sports YouTube channel, and some of those you've been able to see on our social media pages. We encourage you to subscribe on those two YouTube channels so that you don't get left out with all that we need to share in the world of sports here in Uganda and on the African continent. I am not alone this time round. I am joined by none other than the man himself, Peter Tabu. Peter, first of all, greetings, and how is it going?
Yeah, hi everyone, greetings Clive. The going is great and
I can see.
Welcome back from Nairobi.
David Kwalima sent you greetings.
Hey.
Jeff Chinyanjui sent you greetings.
Okay.
So many people sent you greetings.
Hey, hi Jeff, hi David Kwalimwa. I hope you try to, encourage them and give them words of encouragement. Since they're not going to appear at AFCON 2025. I hope you try to, console them here and there.
No, the thing is, yes. There's a lot going on.
Yes.
Of course, apart from failing to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations,
yep,
there are also chances that they will fail to participate in the 2025 CHAN finals, despite the fact that they qualified automatically
as hosts, as co-hosts.
And this will be the third time in a space of something years that Kenya fails to participate in a major footballing tournament where they have qualified automatically. The first one was in 1996 when they qualified to host the Africa Cup of Nations because of the political turmoil at the time.
Yep.
The tournament didn't happen in Kenya, taken to South Africa. Eventually, the Bafana gets to win it. 2018, they qualified automatically to host the CHAN finals that they still didn't host because they didn't have venues ready in time for the tournament. Eventually, the tournament goes to Morocco, and for me, it's what that I've been insisting that Kenya needs to do whatever it takes that the CHAN finals happen in February 2025. Otherwise, their bad luck might spill all over Uganda and Tanzania.
Which won't be a good thing.
Which won't be a good thing for the region. Because of what happened in 1996 and what happened in 2018, they must do whatever it takes for that tournament to happen. Tanzania, their two venues are ready, the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium, then the Amani Stadium in Zanzibar.
Yeah.
Uganda, our one venue is ready, Mandela National Stadium. Kenya, there are two venues, Kasarani Stadium and Nyayo Stadium, are far from being ready, with the tournament 2 months away.
Yeah, it's a tough situation for our neighbors, Kenya. I saw those videos that you shared on CK Sports inside Kasarani. I think it is a 75
60 actually.
60,000 seater. And you could see there was a lot of work that needed to be done. So when you look at things like they have 28 days to complete and be ready, you wonder if that deadline is going to be
because CAF gave them the deadline of December 31st.
Yes. It's honestly, I know our Kenyan brothers are telling us they're working around the clock. The authorities are working around the clock to make sure the venues are available and ready. But between me and you, we know it takes more than just the words.
Yeah.
So they have quite a lot of work to do. I really hope they pull through because, like you've said, it won't paint a very good picture if, we started the journey, three of us, and all of a sudden one of us pulls out.
And actually, there are chances that if one of us fails to make it, there are chances that we would all have failed to make it.
Oh,
and of course, there are reports of Rwanda being on standby and all those other things. Those are reports that we'll need to wait and see. But also, Peter, for me, the other fact Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania hosting the CHAN finals,
yes,
will be a big confidence boost for us as a region, but also for CAF as the owners of this competition going into the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. Remember, we requested to host this tournament as a precursor or to help us prepare for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. So in the event that it does not happen, chances are that in a way it paints us in bad light going into the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, because if Kenya, you were supposed to host the 2018 CHAN finals and you didn't host the tournament because the venues that you had highlighted for the tournament weren't ready then, I mean, how many years have passed?
Quite a number.
And we are back
to the same point.
At the same level, the same point that you don't have venues already. So for me, I feel as first of all as a region, but also as a country, there are probably things that we are not doing right, and unfortunately on so many occasions we never get the right answers. Why we always want to rush through these things, and we end up not being able to deliver what is actually supposed to be delivered.
Yeah, when you say that we never get the right answers, I mean, you look at Kenya and the situation they are in right now politically. They've just had a president, I think is a year or something into power.
William but Ruto. The bid was won under the current president.
Yeah, William of course, Ruto. And he promised that he's going to make sure that some of these things are done. But I feel like there's a lot of happenings in politically for them that I think they somehow switched off on the focus of trying to make sure their venues are available for CHAN. So now that the pressure has piled up even more, I think CAF is looking on and waiting to see if they are really committed to making sure that this happens.
Yeah, but Peter, sometimes you also want to feel that it's not a Kenyan thing, because it's an African thing. I've been to the Africa Cup of Nations, and on match day, the opening day of the championship,
paint is still drying.
Paint is still dry. People are still fixing tables. They are still putting stickers. Screens are not fixed in the media center. Like the tournament, like things that are supposed to be in place before the tournament starts are actually all in place, like on match day 2 or match day 3 of the tournament.
And imagine those are countries that have quite a lot of government support and that want things done on time. So
it's an African thing of always waiting for the last minute to start rushing.
It's an African thing, but also maybe sometimes resources also play a major factor in trying to make sure that they're available on time for some of these things to be done on time. Now it becomes harder in countries where government has not entirely supported sports, you know, and it even becomes worse because then deadlines are not met, the monies are not released on time, so therefore the facilities are not ready. But in other countries where government supports, sports and they are ready to invest in hosting tournaments, the only shortfall is maybe the people who are contracted to make sure some of these services are delivered, and they maybe fall short here and there. But at least generally, you go to stadiums and they are branded. You've been to stadiums where volunteers start from the main gate to the stands when you're entering to where you're supposed to sit, and you know all that is part of the organization of a tournament for it to be successful.
Yeah, but also, by the way, we should remember that around the time when we won the bid to host the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, then later we also got to learn the news that we had requested to be allowed to host the CHAN finals as a precursor for the Africa Cup of Nations. I think a month or 2 months later, it should have been under 90 days later, Tanzania, we got news that actually the Amani Stadium in Zanzibar had been renovated and ready for CHAN.
Yes.
And I think it was the first stadium that was ready even before the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium in Tanzania, which is the main footballing or sporting facility in Tanzania. And as we speak, for it has been ready, waiting for the tournament. Information I'm getting that there is also a lot of renovation work that is going on at the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium. That is the reason why you've not had a lot of football activities happening there, apart from the international games.
Yes,
CAF Champions League, the national team are playing. I know that they are trying. They are trying to make sure that what is required is fitted in just in time for the Africa Cup or for the CHAN finals. And because the information we're also getting that CAF wanted to take over the stadiums by December. to be in charge of the stadiums, put up the branding and stuff like that, plan what will be where, what would the measurements they need, so what branding will be put here and stuff like that. But if it is December now and the stadiums are still under renovation and all that, it also in a way delays them on the deadlines that they are supposed to meet. Of course, now you have the Amani Stadium already in place. You believe Benjamin Mkapa, the renovations they are doing are probably not as hard as the renovations that are being done on the Nyayo Stadium and the Kasarani Stadium, because I took the same tour around Nyayo Stadium, just like the same tour I did around Kasarani Stadium, and I must confess, Nyayo Stadium is in a more worse state
than Kasarani.
Than Kasarani Stadium. You get, and
yes.
And these are the main facilities that Kenya are fronting for the Africa Cup of Nations, but also rather for the CHAN finals. But also, if you bring it back home here in Uganda, yes, we might have the Mandela National Stadium, and we're only discussing now the competition venues.
Yes,
we are not talking about the training grounds, because even the training grounds was a big issue when the CAF inspectors visited Kenya or Nairobi. But also when you come back home here in Uganda, yes, we might have Mandela National Stadium ready, because the state that we are in right now, Mandela National Stadium is ready. But the training grounds that we are supposed to deliver for that tournament are not yet ready. Of course, I was listening to the sports minister, Peter Gwang, saying that we are supposed to avail 4 training grounds. The last time we checked, we needed 2. That was the Nambole outside pitch, the Chambogo Stadium, and the Kadiba Stadium. We've never been to Kadiba. We've not had an opportunity to see exactly what is happening there. We've been to Nambole several times, and we can confirm that probably the only thing that is missing from the Nambole outside pitch are the floodlights, which floodlights can be installed in 2-3 days, under a week, provided what is needed is there. Me and you should have been about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We visited the Chambogo facility that is supposed to be the other training ground. That was actually should have been towards the end of November. And you remember the state we found the facility in.
Yes.
And that was exactly 2 months to the tournament, or to the opening day of the tournament. The grass was yet to be laid. They were still trying to work on the drainage system. The training, the changing rooms were being constructed and stuff like that. So the spotlight might be on Kenya today, but when you also flip the coin and you bring it this other side of the region in Uganda, we are not entirely there, especially when you look at the training facilities that we are supposed to put in place for this tournament.
Yeah, actually for Uganda, I think we have to appreciate that the pressure that was put on government to make sure Nambole is ready, maybe before this qualification campaign got underway, is what has gotten us here. Because, you know, the facility is not entirely ready, because me and you, Clive, know that there are some things CAF needs adjusted at the Mandela National Stadium. Yeah, but at least we know the playing surface and where the other spectators sit and all, lights, those are things that have been done. You need to think and also imagine if that pressure wasn't put on government to have this facility ready ahead of this qualification campaign that just ended. We probably would have been in the same situation with Kenya that they are in right now. But we are past that hurdle, and you want to think that we should be also able to do our part. Let's have Chambogo ready, let's have Kadiba ready, and by the time CHAN gets underway, those should be used as facilities, because we told the world that these facilities will be used as well. So it's a different story if all of a sudden we are saying that we have Nambole ready and we have the outside training pitch ready. I think there are other facilities that we said are going to be available, and they've got to be available if the tournament starts.
Well, we'll be keeping our ears on the ground, check out exactly to follow and see how we are progressing as a country. The tournament we are talking about is starting in about 6 weeks.
Yes,
you're talking about the 1st of the 1st of February to the 28th of February. Some reports are saying the 24th of February. Of course, we still have the qualification round going on. Should be the final phase of the qualification round before we can get to know the entire 19 teams that will be taking part in this competition, which also brings me to the other point. There are so many teams that are pulling out in this competition, especially from the Arab world. Of course, South Africa, rather countries like Egypt, never take part in this competition. But the latest news we are getting is Tunisia. I think they won it in 2011. Egypt, or rather Libya, who were the 2014 champions, have pulled out already. Remember, the northern region of the continent was the countries that were confirmed were Morocco, who are the defending champions, if I'm not mistaken, to Tunisia and Libya. And these countries qualified automatically because all the other countries that they were supposed to play against in the qualifiers are pulled out. So because the region was supposed to bring 3 countries, these countries qualified automatically. But as we speak, okay, the reports we are getting, yet to get confirmation from CAF, is that Algeria and Libya have pulled out. Rather, Algeria and Libya have pulled out. So for a 19-team tournament, if those 2 are pulling out, that leaves us with a 17. Of course, when you come in the COSAFA region, you have the likes of South Africa, who never really interest themselves in taking part in this for this time round. They have not interested themselves in taking part in this tournament. Yet, I feel these are some of the countries that probably have the best leagues on the continent. They have some of the best players playing in these leagues, and them being part of this championship, there is a way it also elevates it to a level that will have that global interest, like the Africa Cup of Nations.
It doesn't paint a good picture that the Maghreb nations are pulling out. I think for a tournament to be as exciting and interesting, all participating teams really need to show up and also bring, the players required to actually play in it. Like you said, when that happens, the level of the tournament is elevated and there is more viewership and there is more attention given to it. But before a tournament starts, when you hear stories like country XYZ has pulled out, and these are countries we know have also been playing well in these tournaments. When the tournament is happening or when they host it, it doesn't look good on CAF. It doesn't look good on African football. And I think that is one of the main factors that Patrice Motsepe and CAF need to look into, try and make sure that countries actually adhere to the fact that they show up in tournaments and participate in them. Because if those countries...
Well, there should be things that interest them to be part of the tournament.
Yeah, of course, that has to be money and prize money, which I think CAF has really tried to do, especially in other tournaments.
Also, what you forget, and why probably most people find this tournament an inconvenience, I find it a good platform for players who play in the local leagues. Why some people find it as an inconvenience. For instance, this edition, and it's not CAF's problem because the world has been affected by so many things, and most calendars or competition calendars are yet to recover, stabilize ever since the pandemic. This particular tournament is happening in February. Now, most leagues in February are probably still ongoing. And remember, some of these leagues have clubs that also have to deal with playing on the continent, the Champions League, the Confederations Cup, and all that. So you thought that probably, just like we normally have the Africa Cup of Nations, maybe we used to have it in January when some of the African leagues had broken off, or in the summer when the leagues have entirely broken off. You feel that this particular competition should also probably be played around that time, in the summer, and that will require all football competitions on the African continent to follow a unique calendar where they probably start in August or September and they're done by April or May. Then you say June, July, we shall be having the CHAN and in different years so that it does not collide with the Africa Cup of Nations. But you're having it in February. Countries still, for instance, the first round in Uganda was meant to end, let's say, by end of February, rather by end of December. You have the entire January, and the league resumes in February. Now, if we are to break off in December, we are going to take off the entire February. We are going to take off the entire February. Those are 2 months, and the league will only resume in March.
First of all, this particular CHAN tournament, I feel like has probably just been fixed in the calendar for it to just happen. And that's because these East African nations that are going to host AFCON 2027, had to actually show CAF that they are ready, and how they can handle it.
Of course, it is late. It was supposed to be last year.
Absolutely. So what does that tell you? Probably CAF didn't give it a lot of attention to make sure that it happens at the right time and it's hosted, in the countries that are prepared to host it. But to your question, the CAF calendar is really packed up, and it makes it hard for some compromise to be made, really, if I could say it that way. You find yourself in a situation where leagues will be affected, players will be affected, because at the end of the day, the calendar has to go on. And now we know we have the FIFA Club World Cup, we have the African Football League, which was put on pause because
it's not happening this season.
Yeah, because if they had put the African Football League in this current football calendar, I don't think CHAN would happen. That would be a different thing altogether. So it's too packed and congested, and of course that means that some countries are, if for example your country or the league in your country doesn't have enough financial power and top clubs that can stand up and say, well, I think we won't avail our players to go and play for this tournament, you find yourselves playing with, adhering the fact that you have to go and
Morocco actually assembling their under 23.
Absolutely. Their countries,
they would come and comfortably win the competition.
Yeah, because they have a good setup and youth football setup and all. So back to your question, it's a congested fixture, or it's a congested calendar, and it comes down to who is actually available, who has enough time. You have enough time, you show up and play in the CHAN. I'm not supporting countries pulling out of the CHAN tournament, but some of them have, they look into how their leagues are running and how affected they will be, and they opt not to participate. Same thing with
Sekafa. Each other return on investment.
Yes, you look at Sekafa. You know what's happening with Sekafa. As Simba, Yanga, clubs that are supposed to boost the Sekafa
the regional competition. Yeah.
Yes, never participate. Whenever Sekafa is anywhere in East Africa, Simba is in Egypt, Yanga is in wherever.
For pre-season.
Yeah, for pre-season. And they come back when the tournament is done. And that doesn't help East Africa at all.
And then when they show up for their own Mapinduzi, they are giving chances to trialists.
Yeah, and those that they've signed. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it is a story that we will continue to follow, bring you regular updates on our different social media platforms, but also on these YouTube channels, CK Sports and the Pitch Side. Now, Peter, there is another big story that is happening on the African continent, and it is not the Champions League or the Confederations Cup, because we have match day 2 of those two competitions coming up this weekend. But still staying with Kenya, we do have elections.
Yes.
For the Football Kenya Federation. The elections are on this weekend at the Kasarani Indoor Stadium, and we have a total of 8 candidates. Initially there were 9, but now we have a total of 8 candidates. I'll just go through the candidates as they will tackle them. Of course, you have Doris Petra, who has been the vice president for the incumbent Nick Mwendwa. They are returning as a pair, but tables have turned.
Yep.
Now Nick wants to return as the vice president, Doris as the president. You have Hussein Mohammed alongside McDonald Mariga. Many people think these are the favorites. You have the former chief executive officer of KFA, of the Kenyan FA, Bali Otieno, and Lucy Kageni. And then you have Sammy Owino, who is a former Kenyan international, alongside Evans Kadenge. Evans Kadenge is the son to the legendary Kadenge na mpira.
Okay.
Then you have Cleophas Shimanyula alongside Twaham Barak. And then you have Tom Alila alongside Barrel Odiambo, Sam Ochola alongside Willis Waliyaula. I hope I've gotten that right. Chris Amimo alongside Anthony Macau. Then initially there were 9 with the veteran administrator Sam Nyamweya wanting to return alongside Patricia Mutheo. Sam Nyamweya was the one that Nick toppled to take over the president of the Kenya Football Federation. Now, the Sports Act in Kenya does not allow any administrator to run for more than 2 terms.
Yes.
I mean, in their own thinking, the president cannot be running for 2 terms and other politicians. And for you in sports, you think you're special, that you shouldn't have term limits. So because of that, that is why Nick would have loved to return as president.
Yes.
But the laws in Kenya does not allow him to return as president. Now he has fronted Doris Petra to come as president, while he comes in as vice president. And some people are actually saying that that is also not right, though the Sports Act or the law is silent on that. Because when they are competing, you're competing as a pair or as a duo, a president with your running mate. And some people feel that probably he shouldn't be standing, or they shouldn't be standing because they have done their 2 terms and they should be moving on. But that is not the point. He was cleared, and Kenya will be going to the polls at this Saturday. So at about probably 5 p.m., 4 p.m., we will know who is the new president of the Kenya Football Federation. I probably also feel that also this is one of the reasons why some of their bits of their preparations for CHAN are probably stalling, because the other reason that CAF gave was the fact that Uganda already has a local organizing committee, Tanzania already have a local organizing committee, Kenya don't have a local organizing committee. Probably they're also waiting for these elections before they set up that local organizing committee, because the local organizing committee is supposed to consist of some government officials and some officials also from the FA and the ministry.
Yeah, of course the divisions in Kenyan football have affected them without a doubt. Their CHAN preparations, their AFCON qualification campaign. When you add that to the fact that they also didn't have a stadium ready or readily available, they had to play away from home, it made it even worse. And we all know how hard it is on the continent for a country not to have a home ground, and they have to play away from home to qualify for a major tournament. That becomes absolutely hard for that to actually happen. But to the Kenyan elections, Sam Nyamweya has a lot of history with Kenyan football, but it's related with drama and court cases. And when he left his role, or was toppled by Nick Mwendwa in 2016, many Kenyans believed that there was something fresh that was coming into their football.
People were excited.
Yeah, people were excited, and Nick also spoke a lot of hope into Kenyans and football-loving Kenyans, telling them that he's going to change the tide and all. But you look at
had a bumpy ride.
You look at Kenyan football. First of all, their league, we all know they've been struggling with TV deals or sponsors. Clubs have petitioned the FKF. They've also showed their their displeasure about how everything is run. They have had to deal with FIFA bans. Yeah, so you have to deal. The last one, Kenya has had 3 FIFA bans. The latest coming in 2022, and that's what I was coming to. Yes, because the one that came in 2022 resulted into the sports ministry not accusing, but Nick Mwendwa was arrested on charges of fraud, 4 counts of fraud, and the sports ministry disbanded the FKF, and that's when FIFA came in and banned Kenya, and that ban ran up until November 2024. And that was because they had a new president, who had a new ministry, the cabinet secretary changed and all that. That is how Nick got off the hook. Absolutely. And in between, and even the William Ruto winning as president. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Exactly, that's what happened. Because when he won as president, Nick came back into the news, and you could see he's talking a lot of with a lot of excitement and all. So that period was a dark period for Kenyan football, because the league wasn't played, nothing was happening. But in the region, people were playing qualifiers, people were doing a lot of other things. So it was hard for them to bounce back from that lengthy spell. But let's get to the people who are running for the top seat. For starters, Doris Petra and Nick Mwendwa. They have been there for the last how many? 5, rather 10, 8 years. Yeah, almost. But they've not done a lot. I think Nick's major achievements as FKF president include maybe the under-17 girls playing at the World Cup, qualifying for the World Cup, and the under-20 boys going for the AFCON under-20. You struggle to think of anything else that has happened in there. Maybe Kenya playing at AFCON 2019.
They hadn't been there since 2004 in Tunisia.
Yes, that was a major thing for him. But in between there, it's been court cases and clubs not having enough money and them not having a sponsorship for the league. So that has really not helped the matters. But you want to think that he knows his way around FKF and Kenyan football. That's why he was able to come as a deputy or a running mate. And everyone knows he's the one going to call the shots. So he's the one calling the shots and he's the one going to
calling the shots.
Yes. I think Doris Petra is only there.
I don't know. Okay, there are two now conspiracy theories that I managed to gather. There are some people who think like you are thinking, that either way, Nick is going to call the shots.
Yes.
Now, there are some people who are thinking that in the event that they win an election, maybe after a couple of months or something, Doris will resign.
Oh.
And when she resigns, the vice president, who is Nick, he will be elevated. If the laws can probably allow that. Now, the other conspiracy theory, and I don't know if I should say it, because it is also trading on the lines of tribes and stuff like that.
Tribal sentiments.
Tribal sentiments and all that. I'm told there are people who will not allow Nick to disturb the peace of Doris as the FA president.
I think by the time Doris accepted Nick as a running,
I'm told that there are people who are actually willing to force him out
when Doris is president.
Yeah, because they feel he will be disturbing the peace of their president.
I know about Kenyans and forcing people out of offices, but I feel like if those two sat and agreed, I feel like they know how they're
because they have worked together for the last.
Yeah, they know how they're going to. And I watched a Nick interview one time, and he was telling Kenyans, I don't know why people are surprised that he has decided to let Doris Petra lead. He believes that women should lead from the front. And he was playing that card. Yeah, he played that card. He said it's about women leading from the front and you know, trying to be given the opportunity to showcase what they can do in leadership. Well,
the elections are on this Saturday. The other candidates Hussein Mohammed,
yes,
who is a businessman, by the way, Chief Executive Officer of Extreme Sports Limited, and he will be running alongside McDonald Mariga, 2010 Champions League winner with Inter Milan, former Harambee Stars captain. Tried politics, things didn't go well, but he is coming to run alongside Hussein Mohammed, and there are people who actually believe that this pair are favorites to topple Nick and Doris.
Yeah, the people who believe that pair are favorites is because McDonald Mariga has persuaded most of the former players to join his camp.
Do they have a vote?
No, but trying to just be a part of you know their coalition, Hussein Mohammed and himself. And you don't need to mention what McDonald did as a footballer. I think he achieved quite a lot.
Yeah, being a great footballer, I want to make a good administrator.
Yeah, he's gone beyond that. You know the academy the academy they're building with his brother, the family, you know, the Wanyama family here in Busia, you know, top of the range, first class.
When are we visiting?
We should, by the way.
Who do we talk to?
David Kwalima. Without a doubt, he's the one that knows all those top henchos in Kenyan football. But Mariga, that's what Mariga offers. I know Hussein brings the money on board to make sure everything moves smoothly, and Mariga brings the expertise as a former footballer, having played for Inter, and I think he also played for Parma, and you know, been in the Serie A. And everywhere that he's been, that's quite some experience, and I'm sure he can use that to actually help Kenyan football become better. But being a better footballer doesn't make you
a good administrator.
Absolutely.
And we've seen that.
I talk about the great Karusha Bwalia.
No. Remember what happened to Diallo?
Not Karusha. Not Karusha. No. King Kalu has done well. Did well as president.
But you remember his reign. It was filled with a lot of turmoil and all that. The other surprise candidate is Barry Otieno alongside Lucy Kangeni. Of course, Barry Otieno has served in the Football Kenya Federation for some good time.
Yep.
He was communications manager before he was elevated to Chief Executive Officer. and he resigned from that position, and he decided that he will be running for president. I will remember Barry for one thing. I don't remember the year. It should have been 2013 or 2014, around that time, when we played that friendly with Kenya at Nambo. That game ended in a barren draw, and Kenya were staying at Grand Imperial here in Kampala. He managed to grant me an exclusive interview with Victor Wanyama.
Yeah, I remember.
So for me, every time I see him on TV, read about him in the papers, or see him anywhere, like, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But of course, he served as a chief executive officer. He stepped down. Now he's running for president alongside Lucy Akangeni.
The turning point for Barry was him announcing that he was leaving FKF and revealing that he was going to run as president. Why? Because many thought Barry was going to be in Nick Mwendwa's camp, and probably help him, make sure that that combination comes through with Petra, and then they win the election. Unfortunately, when you listen to him talk now, as he's campaigning, he thinks the system has not really done well. The system that he worked in has not been able to,
as a chief executive,
as a CEO, has not been able to execute very well. And
the man to run the show.
Exactly. So maybe he will run it better when he's president. But I want to think that as an administrator, he's tried to do his best, of course, amidst all the chaos that has happened in the FKF. And maybe that's the opportunity that he wants to showcase that he can actually do better. But it's going to be a time. Those are the three names: Petra with Nick, Hussein Mohammed with McDonald Mariga, and Barry Otieno, that I think are going to contest for that.
Out of eight candidates, Peter.
Yes. Out of eight. If you've been following Kenyan football and you really know how it's been going since Nick came in, I think those are three people who have really been around and on ground to make sure that they do something for Kenyan football.
Yeah, because I'm actually told that because the KPO clubs, they're 18 or 16, I think they're 18. The KPO clubs that are voting, I was told that at least 90% of them, 90% of them won't be voting for Nick Mwendwa.
I don't think they will.
The KPO club.
Actually, when Kenya played here at Nambole against Cameroon, was it?
Zimbabwe. Then also Cameroon.
I actually had an interaction with Dennis Oliech, the former Harambee Stars captain. And he was bitter with Nick Mwendwa and his camp. And he said he actually belongs to the McDonald Mariga. Mohammed.
So the ex-players are all rallying.
Yes, or the ex-players are rallying behind Mariga, because I think he has assured them that when they get in, he's going to open doors for them to come in. We all know how Dennis Oliech has been trying to, ask for, not support per se, but ask to be part of
the running of the game.
Yeah, the running of the game. And he's not been welcomed really by Nick Mwendwa and FKF. So maybe he believes when Mariga gets into position, he will be able to take advantage of that. Yeah,
because I'm told that 90% of the KPO clubs are all not willing to vote for Nick. Then they have 10 votes from the second division, which will be the big league. And I'm told those are divided. Now, the county votes, they are supposed to be 48. But I'm told 2 of them won't be voting because they have court issues and stuff like that. That leaves them with a 46. And I was told that at least 50% are actually willing to back Nick. So which leaves the other 26 or the 50% spread around. So it is going to be a long day. A long Saturday for lovers of Kenyan football, but of course one that for me I will be following closely.
We shall all follow
to see exactly what happens in there. Is Nick and Doris returning? Will it be Hussein and Mariga taking over, or the outgoing chief executive officer Barry Otieno also taking office? Those elections are on this Saturday at the Kasarani Indo Stadium. And of course, at the end of Saturday or the weekend, club football in the African continent, Peter, is returning. You have the Champions League, match day 2 of the Champions League, and match day 2 rather of the Confederations Cup.
Yeah, the teams that fell short have the opportunity to make amends. Unfortunately, this competition tests you to the core because, for example, young Africans are in Algiers, so they are there to play their opponent, and you're thinking having lost on match day one to Al Hilal, the pressure is on trying to make sure they make amends right there. What's interesting, the good thing about young Africans who take on MC Alger is that Khalid Aucho is back for them. He got injured on national team duty and hasn't played since. He's missed a couple of league games and, of course, that CAF Champions League opener at the Benjamin Mkapa. He traveled with the team. So, yeah, that shows you that maybe if he's added into the mix, he can try and help the team get a result, but they really need to make sure they pull through and get a result.
Because I'm trying to look at some of the games for match day 2 for the Champions League. Of course, I have Sagrada from Angola hosting Esperance from Tunisia. Those games will be played. This is a Friday game. Then on Saturday, you have Maniema from DR Congo hosting Raja Casablanca from Morocco. Orlando Pirates are from South Africa. They are hosting Al Ahly.
That's
in South Africa.
That's a massive game. If I could slide in there, because of course Pirates.
I love the relationship Al Ahly has with South African clubs. There was a time when every season
it wasn't there. I think
they were pitted against Mamelodi Sundowns, but now, and I don't know if they enjoy the flights to South Africa, but it's like every season of the Champions League for the last 5 or so years, they
get a South African club.
South Africa. And then you have Stade Abidjan from Ivory Coast taking on Belouizdad from Algeria, Farabat from Morocco hosting Mamelodi Sundowns, who played to a barren draw in their opening game of the campaign. Mamelodi Sundowns at home. MC Algiers in Algeria are hosting Young Africans, who lost their opening game against Al Ahly, the team from
Al Hilal
from Sudan, 2-0 at home. And then we have Joliba, who are taking on Pyramids, and Al Hilal Amduman from Sudan are hosting TP Mazembe. From that game, though, is going to be hosted, I think, in I need to get the exact.
Not in Sudan, certainly.
Yeah, of course, not in Sudan because of what is happening there.
Yeah, interesting matchups. I think I could just pick out 2 or 3 games. One, the Sundowns game. Sundowns need to bounce back from that draw, Maniema, that they actually got. So maybe they can make amends and get a victory so that they can start their CAF campaign well. Then, of course, Orlando Pirates, Al Ahly is a big game. Pirates, after beating Belouizdad in away, it's important for them to keep that going, but their perfect start in the PSL was ended by Stellenbosch. They had won 7 straight games, so they lost over the weekend. They get into this game knowing that Al Ahly are flying high. After that victory against Stade Abidjan, I think 4-2 it was. They have players who have consistently played on the continent and scored goals. Karaba, El Shahat, and now I think Pasitao made the trip to South Africa. So you know what that mix is. He wants to turn it up a bit. So yeah, you want to think that's a massive game at the Orlando Stadium between Pirates and Al Ahly.
These fixtures, I just remembered the team from Mali, Joliba. I don't know if you remember any stories to do with Joliba.
Joliba and URA.
When they came to Nambole and defeated URA 2-0, and URA refused to travel to Mali, citing that the political instability there, they didn't feel that their players were safe. But the inside story was the players insisted on telling management, why do we have to travel?
There's no need to waste that money.
There's no need of wasting that money because they felt at the time they were already out of the competition. But of course, as the East African region, we have a very good representation in these competitions, Peter. The other being Simba, who are taking part in the Confederations Cup. Young and Simba have consistently represented the region in those competitions, as much as they would have loved to probably be in the Champions League. This is for Simba now, but they will be playing they are playing in the Confederations Cup.
Started well, 1-0 win, but they're also playing in Algeria by the time on Constantine.
A team that once visited Chitende.
Yes.
And left with a 2-0 victory.
A commanding 2-0 victory. But that Simba team needed that victory on match day 1. And I feel like that is going to be a springboard for them, to try and pick up as many points at home and try and get out of the group, because that's key. You have 3 games at home, win all of them, you're 9 points, deal with the away games. And I think that's, that's what Simba is going to try and do. And Fadlu Davids, the South African head coach, simply knows why it is important for Simba to win at home. The team that they have, probably a team that can, get them out of some situations. They can move with that slowly by slowly, but we all know it's tough to win away, especially on the continent and in Algeria. So it's going to be a tough one against Costa.
Of course, match day 2 for the CAF Confederations Cup is going to be played on Sunday. All games are going to be played on Sunday. Black Bulls are from Mozambique will be taking on Al Masry from Egypt. Al Masry once, can you imagine, KCCFC knocked out an Arab team in this very competition. 1-0 in Kampala, lost 1-0 in Egypt, won the game on penalties.
The difference is Al Masry has always come back. And I don't know when KCC has played on the continent.
Well, of course, they have Alunda Su from Angola are taking on Stade Malien from Mali, Orapa United from Botswana are taking on ASEC Mimosa from Ivory Coast, Stellenbosch from South Africa taking on Barkane from Morocco. This game will be in South Africa. Then Bravos Demaquis from Angola. Angola have 2 teams in this competition. Are taking on CS Sfaxien from Tunisia, another team that has visited Kampala before, or Uganda. Constantine, like Peter said, are taking on Simba. Enyimba, 2-time Champions League winners in Nigeria, will be hosting Zamalek, while Giraffe from Senegal are taking on UMS Algiers from Algeria. This is match day 2 of club football in the African continent. And the bit about it, games are live on TV.
Yeah,
so they can
get to enjoy some
from the different parts of the African continent.
You get to watch some pretty exciting fixtures on TV, and that's why the entire continent was demanding for club football to actually return on TV. So you definitely are spoiled for choice.
Exactly, you're spoiled for choice, because even in the region, the partnerships that CAF are tried to get into with different broadcasters around the region have in a way helped people or extend this game closer to the people. And for me, time and again, I've always told people that actually African club football is very exciting, but it was very hard to sell to people and convince them, because they didn't have an opportunity of watching the games. Now these games are live on TV, and you have an opportunity to watch them and be your own judge that whether the games are exciting or the games are not exciting. But without a doubt, for me, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, now that you have these games extended closer to where we are, you will find yourself that you are occupied with what action is out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm looking forward to watching that Orlando Pirates Al Ahly game. Should be.
It's very hard for you to watch anything that is not South African football. But Peter, unless Muluganda we saw in Akatalekeka, we ought to get out of here.
Yeah, keep it CK Sports. Keep pushing the brand. Keep subscribing, keep sharing, keep commenting, and keep it beside as well as we bring you more of this content.
Well, that's all the time we had for you today, depending in which part of the world you are watching us from. We have lots of viewers on the African continent. We have a growing audience in Kenya. Of course, we have a growing audience in Uganda. We have a growing audience in Tanzania, according to the analytics. We have a growing audience in the United States of America. We have a growing audience in the United Arab Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, and a growing audience in the UK. And we hope that the audience keeps on growing. We are committing ourselves to bringing you all the latest that you need to know in sports in Uganda, on the African continent, and football in particular. And yes, we'll continue to do that. We have the CHAN finals coming around from the 1st of February to the 24th or 28th of February 2025. And we have a lot of shows or a lot of activities that are lined up as a build-up to that tournament. Throughout January, going into the tournament and the aftermath of the tournament. We have the Africa Cup of Nations coming up at the end of the year, and we are making plans to also bring you that coverage on our channels as we continue to build up to the big one, the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. Of course, there are so many challenges, there are so many doubting Thomases, but I'm sticking with my faith. I believe that Uganda, Kenya, and Tanzania will be hosting the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations. And yes, as a CK Sports, as pitch sides, we are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we take you closer to this action behind the scenes and all that. Clive Chaze is my name. I've been alongside Peter Tabu. Have a blessed day.